Hi, so winter is almost upon us. Yes, CAT 2022 is just round the corner. Keeping this in mind, we know each and every one of you is really excited but is also looking for the last final push and the fillip that is going to add those extra 5, 10, 15 percentile to your final CAT score. Well, because of this, BYJU'S exam prep brings to you the last lap to CAT 2022 starting on the 17th of October all the way till the 20th of November. Yes, 4.5 intensive, in fact almost 5 intensive weeks of preparation. What more, the focus is predominantly going to be CAT, which means, as we know, time, speed, distance and time and work in totality have almost equal weightage or sometimes even more weightage than geometry. So can we go ahead and leave geometry and just focus on these two? Can we go ahead and leave entire theta para jumbles and still score a 99.99 percentile in verbal? Yes, we can. This and much more in terms of preparation, in terms of intensive questions that we're going to look at and the smartest way of going ahead and solving that. So catch us on the BYJU'S exam prep app, and in case you missed that, on YouTube. But go ahead, download the BYJU'S exam prep app and also get a 99 percentiles kit which is going to help you ace CAT 2022. See you soon.
A very good noon to all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. First, I need to know this. Good noon. Hi, Varun. I hope you're doing well too. I'm doing well. Hi, Abhilasha. Hi, Gibson. Hi, Slowed and Reverb. Good afternoon, Amrit. Hi, Guru. Hello, Karthik, Pragya. Good noon, good noon. Okay, perfect. Right. So, a very good noon to all of you. And again, we talk about some important VRC questions. So, because yesterday you guys said that, RC passage is at 12 p.m. So, I do have an RC passage today as well. But along with that, I have some VA questions also. Right. So, you'll not be completely bored. Right. We will have a mix of questions today. Good noon, all of you. Aniruddha, Sakshi, Karthik, Harika, Aditya, Dipankar, good noon. All right. So let's talk about an RC passage today. Okay, first we'll do that. And then, of course, one para summary, one odd sentence, one parajumble, sequence parajumble. So I've taken care of all the question types, right? And this RC, again, it's not highly philosophical in nature. So, the topic is something that you must be familiar with, right? You must have read about somewhere or the other. Okay. It also belongs to the genre of linguistics in a sense. So, that way it's interesting. So, let's see. Okay. We'll again go by that format only. You'll read, you'll tell me, I'll go to the next slide, and then we'll attempt the questions, right? Okay. So passage 1 on your screen. Yes. Done? Okay. So sociopath narcissist has completed. Right. Let's go to the next one. Done. This one also. Cadence is the rise and fall of sound when we speak. Okay, I am assuming that you all of you have read, and going to the next slide. All right, completed. Okay, so let's have a look at our first question. Let's see what you say. Okay, so quite a few fours here. Okay, so I've got quite a few fours. All right. Okay, okay. All right, all right. So, basically, we had to find something that was contrary to the ideas mentioned in the passage, right? So, women in their communicative behavior are said to prefer a high involvement style and men a high considerate style. Okay, why not one? So, those who are saying four. Yes, yes, sure. The question says that which of the following is contrary? It is again contradicting. Okay, it is the opposite of the ideas developed in the passage. The opposite of the ideas developed in the passage. So now first one is women in their communicative behavior are said to prefer a high involvement style and men a high considerate style. Why is this not the answer? Why not one? Yes, those who've marked four, why not one? See this. When we talk about women in their communicative behavior, right? We talk about them, talking in the public sphere. We do talk about this fact that they adopt a personal tone, right? So, adopting a personal tone and they are trying to please like a woman and impress like a man. So, it is a high involvement style. Okay, it is a high involvement style. So, this part is not really contradicting the ideas that are mentioned in the passage. Okay, and that's why we are iffy about one. I didn't reject it right away when I attempted it, but I was iffy about it. Okay, coming to the second one. Women who use the lowest frequency of women's vocal traits have an unusually high status and are well educated professionals with middle class backgrounds. So, we haven't really discussed the background of women. leading to particular vocal traits in them in the passage. That has not really been the point of the passage at all, not discussed anywhere in the passage at all, and therefore this easily eliminated. Okay, then coming to either 1 or 4. Okay, all right, it supports chatting with an intimate colleague is a private event and hence she can be herself. Therefore, D is correct. Okay, in certain hierarchically organized Indian political parties, women can participate in discussions as long as they appeal, persuade, and support others. So, this is in line with the idea mentioned in the passage. This supports. Okay, and that's why this is not the answer. So 2 and 3 eliminated easily. Between 1 and 4, 4 is stronger because it says studies show that male followers of powerful women political leaders in Indian states imitate their leaders' cadence, rhetoric, and rhythm. So if they want to imitate them, right, that means that there is no sexism that is operating. There is no bias against their style of speech that is operating, which is something that the passage has discussed in different paragraphs, right? That women are judged according to a masculine standard, whereas here the opposite is happening. The men are copying the feminine standard in that way, right? So 4 is attacking the arguments of the passage really well. There is nothing iffy here, and that's why I will choose 4 over 1. Okay? Yes, correct, Amrit. Correct, correct. Okay. All right. ठीक है शालिन, पॉइंट नोटेड. ठीक है. इसमें तो बेसिकली हमें अपोज करना था पैसेज के आइडियाज को. पैसेज में जो था उसको उसका ऑपोजिट कुछ बोलना था. तो पूरा पैसेज ये बोल रहा है कि विमेन को हम मेन के स्टैंडर्ड से जज करते हैं. विमेन कैसे बात करती हैं दैट इज ऑल्सो जज्ड अगेन मेन स्टैंडर्ड्स, मैस्कुलिन स्टैंडर्ड्स, राइट. और ये बिल्कुल ऑपोजिट कह रहा है. ये कह रहा है कि मेन कॉपी कर रहे हैं विमेन को, इसलिए आंसर है. ठीक है. सो आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. एंड okay, let's attempt the second question. Okay, let's have a look at the second one. Karthik, yes, partially yes. Because high involvement style is given, it's given in the passage that women do go for high involvement style. So that part is what I had a problem with, no? Because it was, that part was supporting what the passage said. Whether men follow a highly considerate style or not, that was not something that the passage said. In fact, men repressed their emotions, that was what the passage said. So that part was slightly contradicting, but pehle wala part nahi kar raha tha. Okay. Sorry to interrupt in between your attempting the question. Okay, so extremely easy question, right? Extremely easy question. So, 1 is something that is not a part of public discourse at all, no? When you're chatting with intimate colleagues, that itself now shows that it's not a part of public discourse. So, a very easy, direct question, right? And that's why we mark 1 as our answer, right? This is a further application question, but see, even further application questions can be easy. Okay, all right. Coming to men following a considerate style was also mentioned. Karthik, I didn't notice it. In case it was mentioned, then it completely supports. I didn't notice that. I noticed the part about men suppressing their emotions, right? That they are expected to repress passionate, emotional speech, okay, because it threatens masculine control and order, right? So, men following a considerate style, I they follow something that follows control and reason. That is different from being considerate. Okay, so I didn't see that. Uh, Their being eloquent is mentioned, their being following a style that has control and reason, those parts are mentioned, those things are mentioned. Okay, yeah. Anyway, coming to our next question. Question number 3. Yes. Okay. I think the options again make it a relatively easier choice, but I have got 1, 2, 1, 3 also. Okay. Let's see what the others say. That's it. Everybody says 4. Okay. So men seek to gain, we have to basically say something that goes against the core argument of the passage. Okay. So the core argument of the passage is, yes, who will tell me? What is the core argument of this passage? Before we attempt this question, we should know that also, right? That women's speech is judged according to masculine standards, and there is a bias against women's speech, right? There is a bias that exists. So they are expected to say particular things in public spheres, right? And then also what is considered eloquent has a masculine standard. Okay, so this is pretty much the core argument of this passage. Now I have to actually attempt this question while looking at my options also, right? So what I might be thinking would violate the core argument might not really be present here. So let's see what is present that would go against the argument of the passage, against what the passage says. First says men seek to gain upper hand in conversation as they consider themselves comparative, while women use them as a way to gain confirmation and support. This is actually going in line with how women are expected to act. Women are expected to converse in such a way that they are gaining confirmation, they're gaining support. Impressed like, please like a woman and impressed like a man, that sentence, right? So, not really going against. Unlike men who use and prefer to hear direct imperatives, direct instructions, women prefer indirections. Now, this one again sort of implies that men have a certain style while women have a certain style. So men are brief, men go for direct instructions, women they don't give direct instructions. So in a sense the passage also talks about how men are expected to be brief, be clear, and give direct instructions, while women direct instructions are probably not as welcome from them, right? So not outrightly rejecting it, let's look at 3 and 4. 3 says where a management decision seems unattractive, men will often resist it vocally, while women may appear to accede, to relent, to accept something reluctantly, but complain subsequently. So I think this one, if you in fact look at 2 and 3, no, uh, they sort of paint the picture that the society expects of men and women, which is what our passage is also discussing, the picture of how men and women are supposed to talk, supposed to interact in public spheres. Okay, But if I say this, that today sharing of emotions and elaborations is more important, in that case, what the author says, there shouldn't be really any bias against women if sharing of emotions and elaborations is more important, because as per the author, that is what women's speech is associated with. And if that is more important, there really shouldn't be any bias. Right? तो फिर तो passage का एक तरह से purpose ही irrelevant हो गया. Right? So that's why fourth is our answer here. Okay. Uh, now, let's have a look at your comments. Women don't follow men and have their own way. Which one are we talking about, Rajwal? Four redefines the standards. Absolutely correct. Okay, it redefines the standards and it sort of makes the author's argument that there is a bias against them redundant then. Yes. Okay. Uh, so Aditya, which mock was it? Yes, I would also agree with Aditya Iyengar here that your first priority should be prioritizing your RC passages, right? Probably you are attempting prioritization. Yes, I'm spelling it correctly. So, probably you are attempting a passage as it comes, you are spending a lot of time in that passage. That could be a problem. Probably you are attempting fewer questions. So, let's say keep a rough target in your mind in the sense that okay, I will try to get at least 8 questions correct in this paper, right? At least 8 questions correct, so that way have that target. That means you have to get net 2 passages correct. So 2 out of 4 passages net. Okay, that's not a very big ask. So keep such reasonable, realistic, but relatively higher targets in mind. If currently the score is 9, that means how many questions did we get correct? Net 3, and probably let's say you attempted 5 6 and you got some accuracy there, right? You attempted more and your accuracy was pretty low. So I think this could also be a problem, that you are attempting haphazardly. As a result, you end up choosing the wrong questions. So while you are attempting a lot, but your accuracy is very low. Instead, keep realistic targets like this. ठीक है, मुझे 2 passages net correct चाहिए. So let me attempt 3 passages. Okay, let me see how many accurate I get there. Or let me attempt a combination of 2 passages and the VA questions if you're good at VA. So that way you'll have to strategize. Okay, VA easy. Okay, all right. In mock 19, good, good. Okay. Uh, okay. At DI was moderate to difficult. Mock 19. Okay, not available. But it's a mock that is available for our enrolled students. Mock 19. 22 attempted, 10, 8 correct. So good, unique. See, your accuracy is good. So I would suggest that if you're able to, you can consider increasing your attempt slightly. Right? Consider increasing your attempt slightly, and that will actually push your score in the 90th percentile, right? Which is what we want. Okay, 90 से भी ऊपर जा सकता है. Uh, yes, Ankit, I agree with you. See, in RCs, in VA, it all depends on the type of question, as in the difficulty level of question that you get on that day. It all depends on that. Whereas in RCs, if you have a certain amount of practice, no, then you can be sure that, okay, itne to ho jayenge correct. Right? Unless and until the RC passage on that day comes out to be extremely difficult, and that to a majority of them. So in RCs, with practice, you can become more confident. In VA, it depends on the difficulty level of the question on that day. That's my take. So I also agree that working on our RC accuracy is very, very important. Okay, all right. Let's have a look at the last one. What is not true about language ideologies in the US? All right. Let's see. What do you say? 4. Okay. Others. Maybe 3. Okay. So this is a direct question. See, whenever I have a not true, true type of a question, it's a direct question. So it's best that you go back and just confirm your answer once, right? So let's see where these US ideologies were mentioned. So if I go back, they are mentioned here. The notion of control also relates to the cultural ideas of eloquence. Language ideologies in the US are complex and highly prescriptive, but not formal or explicit. They are internalized by osmosis from early observations of adult language use, criticism from teachers, and sanctions imposed by peers. Okay, and these norms become most obvious when they are violated. So, this is what is mentioned about US ideology. So, based on that, what would your answer? Yes, 4 3, 4 versus 3. All right. They are indirect yet prescriptive. Is this not true from what I just read for you? So this part is true that they are not explicit, they are prescriptive, they are complex. These parts are mentioned, these parts are true. So it comes down to 2 versus 4. Yes, 2 versus 4. Internalized by socialization and they are casual. So what would you say? 2. But if you see the examples that I gave, internalized by osmosis. Osmosis is a process of transfer, right? We all know that. Like liquid permeating from one chamber to the other. So osmosis filtering or a transfer that happens. And how is this osmosis happening? From the people around you, isn't it? You learn from the adults around you, from your teachers, the criticism of teachers, right? Then one more example was extended, no? Criticism from teachers, adults, and there was one more, right? So, in a way, the people around you, you want to adhere to the norms. Okay, you want to learn to behave in a way that is acceptable for the people around you. And if you don't behave in that way, they impose sanctions on you. They kind of judge you. They kind of correct you. That is happening. This is what socialization is. When by interacting with others, you learn to accept in ways that are you learn to behave in ways that are acceptable to them. Okay, आप ऐसे behave करना सीख जाते हो जो उनको भी acceptable हो. So by socialization, no, not formal does not mean casual. If a rule has not been formally codified, that does not mean that it is casual. Casual means when you are very relaxed about it. But here we are seeing that the moment a violation happens, you are corrected. Sanctions are imposed on you. So they are casual would be incorrect. This is just very clever wordplay. Okay. Not formal does not mean casual. Okay. And that is why 4 is the incorrect one. Okay. Good, Charu. Good. So I'm happy that I tried to confuse some of you, but you didn't budge. Okay, all right. So, considering, see, Kavya, considering that 100 percentile was in the 30s, I would not say that 19 marks is a bad score. However, you have to again you have to compare your performance with others, but you have to see it against your previous marks. Okay, what was your percentile in those marks? What is your percentile here? Is it improving? What are the kind of errors that you made? If in case you've made silly errors, then it does not matter how much somebody has scored. If you have scope for improvement, you have scope for improvement, right? So judge it against your previous marks, against the kind of questions that you got wrong, against the kind of errors that you. Okay, and considering yes that in 30s we have 100 percentile, it's not a bad score. All right, all right. Good, good, Chirag. Will I get a call from Sumaya? I'll have to check that previous year cutoffs. 232 was for this one, Mumbai, your main Mumbai campus, right? So that was the case last year. This year, somehow, I feel that the cutoffs can be slightly higher, considering that the English section students are reporting that the language skills section was relatively easier for them. So we'll have to check, we'll have to calibrate, and then only I'll be able to comment. Okay. Yes, Aditya. Correct, correct. धोखा हो गया दीपांकर. Okay, okay, okay. चलो ठीक है. A lot of mock discussions happening. Let's attempt some questions also. Okay, make a sequence for me here. Yes. All right. So what do you say? 2341, 2413. Okay. All right. Others. 2314. Okay. 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 So basically, all of us agree that 2 and 3 look like a pair. Yes, 2 and 3 look like a pair. That is something that all of you have been able to identify. And you are correct in saying that 2, 3 is a pair. Okay. No, but some of you are saying 2, 4 also, but 2, 3 is a pair. Let's see how. Let's see how. Relationships are nothing without the communication that brings them into being. Relationships without the communication, without talking about them in a way, or communication within relationships. Yes, let's see what is being discussed. Interpersonal communication is connected to the knowledge shared by interlocutors, people who are speaking to each other. And scholars should attend to relational histories in their analysis. So, see, scholars should attend to relational histories in their analysis. So, interpersonal communication is involved in relationships. Yes, we converse with each other, we communicate with each other. So, the the opening sentence is that relationships are nothing without communication. And if you see in the other sentences also, we are talking about this communication aspect of relationships, right? Another thing that actually led me to think that okay, 2 should be the opening sentences, that when I talk about a Foucauldian approach, so that looks like a scholarly approach. So I felt that okay, 3 can't be the opening. I'll first talk about how scholars should look at relational history. So 3 cannot be the opening. 4 talks about reconsidering something. So first I will consider something, then only I'll reconsider it. So 4 also does not look like the opening. Okay, then it says it is regimes of truth that make certain relationships speakable. Relationships like subjectivities are constituted through discursive formations which sustains regimes of truth. So this felt like an elaboration of the Foucauldian approach to me. Okay, because this also talked about truth. So again, I felt that 1 cannot be the opening. So 2 is indeed the opening sentence. It will be followed by 3 because then we start talking about a scholarly approach to considering relationships. So a Foucauldian approach to relationships goes beyond these conceptions of discourse and history. These conceptions of discourse and history. Okay, so we had discussed history here, relational history, discourse when we talk to each other. So it goes beyond these conceptions of talking to each other and the relational history to macro level regimes of truth as constituting relationships. तो अब वो कम्युनिकेशन को नहीं देख रही है, वो रिलेशनल हिस्ट्री को नहीं देख रही है, वो एक अलग ही उसने एक्सपैंड कर दिया डिस्कशन. इट इज एक्सपैंडेड द डिस्कशन टू regimes of truth, regimes of truth as constituting relationships. Okay, so let's see what that means. It is regimes of truth that make certain relationships speakable. Okay, so relationships like subjectivities are constituted through discursive formations which sustain regimes of truth. Okay, so now see, even I don't understand it completely, but the way I interpreted it was that uh, how much, let's say, truth is present, right? Um in a relationship, perhaps we are talking about that here, that it's not about communication, it's not about what kind of history you've shared, it's about uh, how much truth is there, right? That was pretty much my rough interpretation when I read it for the first time. So one continues this idea of what we mean by a regime of truth and how does that affect a relationship. Reconsidering micro practices within relationships that are constituted within and simultaneously contributors to regimes of truth. Now, again, we are talking about regimes of truth. So, this is a continuation of the discussion. Acknowledges the central position of power or knowledge in the constitution of what has come to be considered true and real. So, first we talked about some micro practices, communication within a relationship, the history that a relationship shares. We then expanded the discussion to a macro perspective with something called the regime of truth, right? We then elaborated it, and then towards the end, I'm asking you to reconsider the micro practices within the ambit of this regime of truth, right? So this is broadly what I also got from this parajumble, a sequence parajumble. And on this basis, I made this sequence. I also don't have 100% understanding of this. Okay. So 2314, I'm happy that by now a lot of you realized this. Good, good, good. Okay. So this was a difficult parajumble question in the sense that you could get caught up in the words. So the key in such parajumble questions is that don't aim for 100% understanding. Just understand the best that you can in the frame of a minute or so, and then accordingly make a sequence and proceed. That's how you attempt your sequence parajumbles. Okay. All right. Let's attempt the summary, para summary question. It was something very academic. I think it was taken from a journal or somewhere, some academic article. Foucault is a philosopher. Okay. All right. Others. Four, three. Primarily four I've got. So this is not, of course, the perfect summary because it is not talking about Twitter. If you see, the summary does not exactly talk about Twitter as such, but because newspapers is there in all the four options, I need not really worry about it, right? Probably Twitter has been mentioned as an example here, but again, the summary should have mentioned Twitter. But ठीक है, किसी भी option में नहीं है, so I don't have to worry about it. 243. Oh, vote for 3. Actually a simple paragraph. We are saying that uh, sorry, I'm so sorry. The discussion is about newspapers only. Yes, I am sorry. I am sorry. I just saw the first word here. Twitter is not the masthead of a newspaper. Twitter is not the something that drives a newspaper. But Twitter has become its ultimate editor. But Twitter has become the editor of a newspaper. This is a very important idea. How? As the ethics and conventions of that platform of Twitter have become those of the newspaper, the paper itself has increasingly become a kind of performance space. So basically, today a newspaper's ethics and conventions, they are exactly those that are there on Twitter. The newspaper, in a way, has adopted them. Stories are chosen and told in a way to satisfy the narrowest of audiences. Which audiences would be these? The ones that are carrying an opinion on Twitter, rather than to allow a curious public to read about the world and then draw their own conclusions. So BS newspapers are in a way pandering to the Twitter audience that already holds an opinion. So in a way, the newspapers' opinions are also being shaped by those, right, by those of Twitter. So first is newspapers are ready to compromise with their ethics. That's not the essence here. Also, compromise word is not really given. What is given is that today newspapers' ethics are also shaped by what the ethics of people on Twitter are. So incorrect. Newspapers fear to speak outside the narrow confines of social media. No, this is distorted. We are saying they are trying to satisfy the narrowest of audiences. It's not like they're not speaking anywhere apart from social media. So one and two eliminate. Three, they get influenced by the followers on social media platforms. This gives the impression that okay, newspapers have their own followers on social media platforms and they get influenced by their followers. That is not really the point of this paragraph. The newspapers are getting influenced by people on Twitter, people who have opinions on Twitter. So newspapers are caving into. Cave means to give in, to yield. Okay, to yield to the narratives that are shared on social media platforms. Okay, so to whatever uh, opinions, to the way a particular story is being presented on social media platforms, newspapers are also giving into that and presenting the stories in a similar manner. That is the essence of this paragraph. Fourth is the answer. Okay, all right. So fourth is the answer here. I hope so far so good. Whatever we have discussed today, I hope that is clear to you. Yes, all the questions. Then this is the last question for the day. Odd sentence out. Let's see what you say. What is the odd sentence? Tell me. Okay. No, Charu, here we are not talking about the newspaper's followers on social media. We are talking about people who are active on Twitter. Yes, yes, absolutely. The uniques. That's why I said that it's not a there's the ideal summary was not present in the previous question. So there's an ambiguity there, no, Chirag? When we say you're saying how can we say that the followers in three are not of Twitter? So by followers on social media platforms, if I phrase it like this, newspapers are influenced by followers. So वो किसके followers होंगे? Look, just read this sentence. This looks like they are the followers of newspapers only. I mean, there's an ambiguity there. So if I had to mention that Twitter followers or people who are active on Twitter, right, I should have clarified this. This sentence gives me the impression that these are the newspaper's followers on social media platforms, right? Yes, narrative, actually, one meaning of narrative, Varun, is how you present a story, how a story is presented in the public. That is a narrative. Okay. It's not simply about narration or storytelling. Okay. I just lost my pen's nib, it seems. Just give me a second. Anyway, what is your answer? Fourth. Most of you say fourth, but I've also got B. Okay. C and B seem to be connected. Okay. All right. All right. You are right. Fourth is the answer here. Okay. So, if you look at this, it's like a very conversational tone. The author is conversing with us here. Right. So the author says that, when you travel around the world collecting animals, you also of necessity collect human beings. So this person is an animal collector, right? So C and E definitely related to each other, right? Also, this one, C says people always seem delighted to meet someone. So being an animal collector helps because people always seem delighted to meet someone with such an unusual occupation and go out of their way to assist you. So this matches with A in its theme, that for the most people I've come across have been charming. Also, this person says I'm more intolerant of a human being's shortcomings than I am of an animal. So gives me an idea that okay, this guy is perhaps he does something related to animal collection. Okay, in more intolerant of a human being shortcomings, but has met mostly charming people. So A or C ऐसे related हो गए. Charming कैसे हैं वो? They are, being an animal collector also helps. They are delighted to meet someone like him. So A, C, and E. It comes down to B and D. Now, it says then you come across the unpleasant human animal, the district officer. So if you see, A kind of gives you a precursor that something like B may be coming along, right? This person clearly states I'm much more intolerant of a human being's shortcomings. All right. Also, D says I have learned to accept that people have both good and bad in them. So in that sense, D looks like a sudden leap. Earlier, you were much more intolerant of a human being's shortcomings. Now, suddenly, you've learned to accept that both good and bad exist in a person. Whereas earlier, you were talking about just charming people and people who were delighted to meet you. So, D appears to be contradictory that way. Whereas B goes in line with the fact that, okay, most of the people that I've met are charming. Then you come across the unpleasant human animals. So, it's like a one off encounter with such unpleasant people. The district officer who drawled, we chaps are here to help you chaps, and then proceeded to be as obstructive as possible. So this is like a one-off encounter that this person may have had. Most of the people, though, have been charming. That's the idea here. So D is indeed the odd one out. It's not about people having both good and bad in them. It's about most people being charming, but some being unpleasant. Okay. D takes the lead. Correct, correct. Order when you travel E, then A, then C, and then B. Yes, correct, correct. EACB would be the order here. Okay, because B has to come towards the end. B has to come towards the end. Okay, we are talking about an unpleasant person now. All right, all right. So I hope this is clear to everyone why this is the answer, and the questions that we've discussed so far are also clear to you. If anything is not clear, please let me know. Okay. So I hope, Chirag, the previous one was clear to you, the sixth one, Twitter wala. And yes, you know about this, the 8-hour non-stop marathon. Do attend this. Okay, some again power pack sessions will be happening in this 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. 21st and 22nd November. Also, you already know about this that we are going to have an analysis. Do join us. CAT 23 batch, a lot of features available. You can suggest it to your friends. Okay, and yes, this is a test series with various CAT and non-CAT mocks. So if you subscribe to this test series, then mock 19 will be available to you. Okay, And these are the sessions that are going to happen in the last lab, right? So do attend. A lot of sessions lined up by Saral sir, Gaurav sir. I also have a session on the 19th. We'll discuss CAT Mock 19 in detail there. So I'll talk to you about the difficulty level of each RC passage there. Don't worry. And on the 20th, we have a session by Gautam sir. Okay, do follow us on various social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And we can stay connected via Telegram as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, Aditya. We do have more sessions like this. You too have a nice day, Pragya. Welcome, welcome. Bye bye. Thank you for attending. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.